Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to a new video. Today I want to talk about Polybar. Again, I did make a video about Polybar, over a month ago now, and it might stand to reason that you could check this out if you're interested in Polybar, but really it just goes over the sort of super basic setup of Polybar, but the main thrust of that video is just getting Polybar to work with the awesome window manager, which is what I'm using right now. So it may not be of super interest to a lot of people, but this is going to be a more general video. You should be able to watch this video no matter what window manager you're using, because what I want to do today is just sort of customize my bar. As you can see up here, I have an incredibly simple bar. At the moment, all it actually has is the date. What I'm mainly interested in doing is setting up a few sort of custom widgets. Spotify, as you can see here, is one of them, a weather widget, and I just want to mess around with a few other things, some icons and that sort of thing, just to polish it a bit, make it look a little bit better and a bit more usable and a bit more handy for us. So let's go ahead and jump into the video here. So one of the first things I want to do is I just want to do a slight little tweak to the color scheme that I was using with Polybar here. What I'll go ahead and do is I'll just change directory into my config folder in Polybar, and we can go ahead and remove that Spotify thing. And then if I go into the config, a couple of things I want to do. I just want to slightly adjust the colors here. So I typically use the Grovebox color scheme on just about everything. So what that actually means is I just need to slightly adjust the background and the foreground colors up here just a little bit. If you're interested, I'm basically just pulling these colors exactly from the Grovebox page on GitHub. And the only other odd thing here is that with Polybar, if we want transparency in the bar up here, we have to add two other digits to the front. So if I remove the first digit, you can just see this is a very dark gray color. But whenever I add the F9 in the front, what I'm really just saying is that I'm adding a little bit more transparency. Basically, like, I would say this is probably like 95% opacity. And if I reload, color is going to be slightly different. Let's jack with the time a little bit. And really what I'm going to do with the time is I'm just going to sort of move it over to the left, which we can do by coming down to the modules positioning here. And right here where I have the battery percentage right here on the right, I'm going to put the date right in front of that, delete it from there, save the config, and apparently it's going to just turn off transparency every time I save, unless I reload the whole window manager, which I don't know, that's not that big of a deal. I might just end up doing that. Anyways, so there is a power menu built into the default Polybar config. I've deleted mine, and I actually don't love the way that the default one is set up, because you have to like click on an icon, click reboot, and then once you click reboot, you have to sort of say like, yes, I want to reboot, and then the system will actually reboot. It's a little weird. It's a bit too complex for me. So I'm going to just sort of build a simple one here, which is very similar to the original. So we're just going to type in module / power menu, which is how you create a new module. And then if you want to, you can already go up to the top and just add in that module. So I'll put it right here at the very front. I'll say power menu. And if we were to save and reload, nothing interesting would change because we haven't really added much of anything to the config yet. We're about to do that. So we'll come down to the power menu. And what I want to do is, for right now, we're going to say type equals custom / menu. And then we're going to say expand right equals true. And then we're going to do label open and give it maybe just a word here. We'll say this is the icon, or we'll say open. And then we're going to say label close equals, and we'll say close. And then what I also want to do, this is going to be weird for a second, but I want to type in label active font equals 1. And then what I want to do is I want to come down here. I'm going to say menu 0-0 equals, we'll say restart. And then on the menu 0, 0, so this would just be like the first option. We want it to execute an actual sort of command, and what that command would be sudo reboot, and that will reboot the whole system, of course. And then we'll go down and create one more menu item, menu -0-1, and we're going to say shut down, and then same thing down here, menu dash 0 dash 1 dash execute. And we're going to type in sudo power off, which should be the command that you can use to just instantly power off your system. And then if we reload here, if we click on open up here, we're going to have the option to close, restart, shut down, and basically no spacing whatsoever. We can fix that pretty easily by coming up to the top here, and we'll say format spacing equals 4. Something like that. Now we're going to have a bit more spacing, except for in between restart and shutdown. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Could we do the same thing? No, that wouldn't be it. I guess probably the easiest way to fix that is let's surround shutdown and some quotes, and maybe just add 4 spaces in front. Open. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. Cool. So now let's jazz this up with some icons and talk about this label active font equals 1 situation here, because this doesn't make a lot of sense until we talk about fonts. So by default, there are 2 or 3 fonts inside of Polybar, and you can sort of use as many different fonts as you want. And this is great because you can pull from a whole bunch of different icons and fonts and things, font icons, that type of thing, and really get somewhere interesting. The only thing to keep in mind is that when we're picking fonts here, font 0 is going to be font 1, font 1 is going to be font 2, and font 2 is going to be font 3. So what I actually should have typed down there is label active font 2, because what I want to do is I want to pick one font, just sort of a normal serif or sans serif font for our actual bar, the text on the bar. And then I want to go straight into an icon font that I can use to actually get some cool icons. So before we can do anything, there are a couple of things that I want you to install. Or I mean, actually, this is really up to you, that you can do whatever it is that you want. But what I want to do is I want to open up a new thing here. And I want to do pack-s, or let me see, let's do pack-s and search for font. Maybe we'll do pack-ss, awesome. And yeah, so the package that we're going to want is community ttf font awesome. So the way that you would install that, pack-s, ttf font awesome. Of course, these are instructions that are exclusive to Arch Linux. If you're using a different Linux distro, I'm going to just assume that you are pretty good at using that package manager or installing font some other way. You need to get the font on your system, and if you're on Linux, this is probably the easiest way to do it. One other thing that I did is I installed this San Francisco font, which is the font that Apple uses actually on most of its products. It's in the AUR, I believe. So if I search for EASS, Francisco, whatever. It's somewhere. I don't remember where I got it from. But if you install a San Francisco font, that's what I want to use as the sort of default font. And the last thing you need to install is something called GU char map. And what this is a well, there it is right there, GNOME Unicode character map. What this is just an app that's going to let us view all of the different icon fonts. It's a little tricky to use, but we'll get there. So close out of that terminal. First thing we want to do is just replace font 0 with San Francisco text : size equals 10:0. Now, if you don't know how to spell the font exactly, because you will have to type the font exactly as it would appear in a font book in order for this to work right, we can actually use that GU char map that we just installed to figure that out. So if we sort of browse through our fonts, and let's search for San Francisco maybe, we can see that the way that this particular font is named is San space Francisco space text. You're going to need to type it in exactly as it is right there. And do yourself a favor, I was having some weird issues with fonts a little while ago while I was playing around with Polybar, and it was because I was surrounding the fonts in quotes. I don't know why that would make a big difference, but it does. So don't surround your fonts in quotes, and you'll be all set. Next thing I want to do is I want to use the font awesome font. So we can go ahead and just copy that right over, and then I'll set the size to maybe 11:0. I don't know, something like that should work out pretty nicely for us. And from there, we're good to go. We don't actually even need this third font yet. We can get pretty far with just these two. So go ahead and save. Probably going to lose transparency again. I don't know what's going on with PyCom. But for now, what we can now do is take a look at this character map program. So it's a little funky the way that it works, but what you want to do is find whatever font you want to use. In this case, it's going to be Font Awesome. You're going to click on it, and you're going to have to come up here and sift through the menus a bit. So go to View, and you want to click on View by Unicode Block, and then show only glyphs from this font. And then over here on this side where you have this text that says Unicode Block, you're going to have a ton of options for how you want to view this font. I'm not totally sure what this is, but I know how we get where we want to go is we click Private Use Area. And then as we scroll down a bit, at some point, we'll start to see some icons. The easiest way that I found to get it to work is you're literally just going to find the icons that you like. So for example, I've got this little power menu icon here. It'll put it that when you double click, it will move it to this text to copy area. And then you can then just right click and copy or paste. And that's it actually. That's how it works. It's not too terribly complicated, but what we can do is sort of come through here and find some icons that we want to use on our bar. So we'll keep those right there in the clipboard, and I'll go ahead and copy this power icon to start with. And then what I'll do is I'll literally just shoot this over to a different display, if I can remember how to do it. Yeah, that's cool. And now if we come back down to the bottom of our config here, we can come over to our power menu, and where we have this word open, let's go ahead and just paste in that power icon. And then where we have the word close, we can go ahead and just paste in the close icon, reload, lose transparency, reload alacrity, or awesome. Come over here. Now when we click the power icon, it's going to give us the option to close, and then we're still going to have the restart and shutdown words. So let's go ahead and just sort of jack with that a little bit. What I ended up doing in my version of the config was I just sort of put the icon and then put the actual word. So the way that looks is something like this. It would be the icon and then the word restart. And the same thing here with the shutdown, just we have that extra spacing in front of it so that it doesn't look odd. So we'll go ahead, come down here, paste that in, reload, get a new wallpaper again. Oh, it's really giving me this Wales wallpaper quite a bit. Anyways, if we click the power icon, restart, shutdown, and as soon as we click one of these, it's going to do that immediately. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. We'll assume it works. I know it works because I've done it a million times, but I think that illustrates the point really well, which is setting up custom icons in Polybar and setting up custom fonts. So now let's move on to something else, and that is actual custom modules that you can use inside of Polybar. And I've sort of showed you one already. I sort of built a little custom thing here. This was based very heavily on the original Polybar, but let's get a little more interesting. I'm going to build one module of my own, and then I'm going to install 2 custom modules that other people have built. So a couple of things I want to do here. I have a script on my computer, and it's a pretty simple script. What it does, whenever I type in daily, it does 2 things for me. It syncs all of the repositories that are associated with Arch. It just goes through all of the repositories, the core community extra, sees what's new, and then doesn't download them or anything, just updates so that I know how many apps are ready to download. And you'll notice it also changed the wallpaper. If I go ahead and take a look at the script, that's all it does. It runs yay-sy, which is how you just download all of the new info for your repositories. And then there's a little fay command here, which is the app that I've been using to change my wallpaper, and it will reset my wallpaper. And I have this in a cron job. Cron jobs are cool. They're probably a topic for a different video, but there's conveniently a lot of really, really great videos on YouTube about cron jobs. But essentially what I do is just run this program, this little script, I think it's every hour, or it might be every half. I'm pretty sure it's every hour. How can we utilize this with Polybar? Well, I got something that I think you'll like. So what I want to do is I want to create another new module, and I'm going to go ahead and just call this module update. And what I want to do is I'm going to do type equals custom/script, and then I want to say execute a command when I tell it to. And what I want to do is I want to execute the command. I'll go ahead and type it in, and I'll show you what it actually does. I want to do yay-qu. And I want to pipe it through word count with the L flag. Okay, so if we open up a new terminal, what we're doing really is if we type in yay-qu, it's going to list all of the apps that are available for update. Now, to actually get this list, you do have to run that yay-sy every so often to sync up all of the repositories. That's why I have it in the cron job. So in order to get an accurate number, you do need a cron job or something else running to make sure that you can get an accurate number here. But when you run yay-qu, it's going to list all of the apps that are available for update. So that's half of what we want. The other half is we want to get just a raw number. So what we can do is we can pipe this through word count, which you might have to install. You can do that with pack-s word count. It's a pretty tiny program. I'll probably install in a couple seconds. And it's going to print out the word count for every column. Not quite what we want. We just want this first number. So what we can do is yay-qu, pipe it through word count, give it the L flag. Boom. 47, that's exactly the output that we want. It'll just give us a raw number of apps that are available to be updated. What we can then do is we're going to give it an interval. And what this will do is just sort of say like how often do you want to run this command here? And I believe this measurement is in seconds. So roughly 16-ish minutes, a little over 16 minutes. That seems like a good interval. We could make it a bit smaller if we want, but again, that script that is going to run to get us an accurate list of apps is only going to run every hour. So checking every 15, 16 minutes seems like it'll be fine. Then what we want to do is we want to do label equals surrounded by parenthesis output. And what that's saying is we want to print the actual output of this command here onto the bar. And then one more thing we want to do is we want to do format, prefix, and we're going to get a little icon here that I like. Boom, it's a little download symbol. And what it should do, start with this symbol and then print out the number of apps that are available. Update, it is not doing that for some, oh yeah, I've made this mistake before. We have to actually add the module to our setup over here. So we'll put it on the right, and I'll say update, save again, give it the old reload here. And it's gonna take just a second to pop up. This is actually sort of one of the slower items, but you can see now we have the date and we have a little icon telling us how many apps do we have to update. We're getting somewhere with the bar now. It's getting a bit more complex, giving us a bit more info about what's actually going on in our system. Let's keep going. So when I was thinking of let's keep going, the first thing that popped in my head was I'd like some weather on my Polybar. I mean, I had bars on my weather on my macOS menu bar. I've had weather. I'm sure there's a weather widget in the Windows 10 menu bar. I couldn't tell you though. So I found an app to do it. I did a little bit of searching, and what I found was something called NFTD, or NTFD, something like that. Okay, so what this app is actually a bit more robust than you might think it would be. What it actually allows you to do is you can install an app from the AUR and then do a little bit of config. And what it's basically going to let you do is get weather info, get GitHub update info, and actually get music playing update. And they actually have some plans to do Pac-Man updates. What? How? Well, already did it. Gmail updates, Facebook, that kind of thing. Anyways, the way that we have to actually start with this is we have to install this app here, ntfd-bin. So that's not too difficult. We just need to open up a terminal, and in the AUR is where it is. So we'll do, I use yay as an AUR helper. We'll do yay-s ntfd bin, and yeah, it'll find it. It's not too big. I'm not going to reinstall it. Then what we need to do is we need to go into the actual config for ntfd, which should be in config/ntfd config. Hey, there we go. And couple of things we want to do here. What I want to do is I want to come up here where it says open weather map, and by default this will be set to false, and you just want to go ahead and enable it. And then there are two other things that we want to do. We need to go to openweathermap.org, and we need two things. We need to sign up and get an API key. What I did was I saved this API key in a file. You can see where I have it. And the reason I did this is because I accidentally just pasted the API key in here, which you can do, but then I synced it with my GitHub repo and it was public, which I don't think is that big of a deal. I don't care too much if it's public, but I don't think that it's a good idea to be using other people's API keys for that type of thing. So just go to Open Weather Map, make your own account, get an API key. It's not very difficult. and it's also free. And then what you need is the city ID. So what you need to do is search the name of your city. So if I search for, I don't know, maybe Houston, Texas, I don't want to give away my precise location. And then right here at the end, this number, openweathermap.org/city/ a string of numbers, is going to be the city ID. That's the only two things we need. From there on, you can just sort of jack with the settings a little bit. By default, I believe it displays in Celsius, which of course I changed to Fahrenheit. I am in the US. And a couple other things, but from there, we're pretty well set to actually just drop some configuration into our Polybar config, which is pretty easy as well. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to add the actual module here. I forget what the module is called. Oh, it's called weather. So what I can do right up here, I'm going to have the weather display in between the date and the update. And then I'll come down just a little bit because we actually need a third font. And I believe this font actually does come with the NTFD app. So you should be all set there. What I want to do is copy this right here from the GitHub repo, font2 equals weather icon size 12. And I'm just going to paste it right below. And then if we copy the actual module here, we can again just sort of paste it right in to our config, come all the way down below the update script that we just made, paste this in. Let's just go ahead and save this. And immediately we have weather up in the menu bar. Phenomenal. This is going pretty well. I think we're actually coming close to the end of the video because the last thing I want to talk about was Spotify in Polybar. So we have a Polybar Spotify module. I actually talked about this very briefly in the last video. It was sort of an aside here, but I thought it was interesting enough that I'd include it in both videos. So this is a cool little app that someone made. The only dependency is Polybar and the Python 2 or Python 3 and the Python dbus module, which are both pretty easy to get. You can open up a terminal, go full screen all here, and if we search for pack-ss for Python and then Python dbus, we can install the Python dbus package. I think to install Python dbus, you have to install Python. So you should be able to just do pack-s Python dbus, and this should give you everything you need. I don't know that for sure, but it seemed, why wouldn't Python be a dependency for that? Anyways, once you have all of that installed, we need a little script. So in our actual Polybar folder, what we're gonna do is we're going to open up this Spotify status.py script, click on the raw here, and what I want to do is just copy and paste this basically into a script file here. You could clone the GitHub repository like into the Polybar folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do, what was it called again? It was Spotify status.py. So I'll create a new file called Spotify status.py. Let's go back into the config here, and I'll go ahead and add the module to be displayed dead center actually. So we'll go ahead and call it Spotify. Come down to the bottom, and I believe on that GitHub page we can just copy and paste in the actual module that we want. Cool. And then right here at the end, I'm going to remove that underline thing. I don't want an underline on my Polybar. Save that. And then, oh yeah, we need to right here edit the path to the actual Spotify script. So in my case, that's going to be home/mac/config Polybar and then Spotify status.py, reload again, and it shouldn't display anything. I'm just going to grab that Spotify icon that we got earlier. We'll copy that, probably close out of that app now, and we'll replace that, save again, totally reload the whole window manager here. And then if we go over to a new window and we open up Spotify, hey, look at that. We've got song and artist here. And if we want to maybe play something a bit different here, boom, there it is. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.